This story was sent to me by Craig J, but I have to do a little bit of a tweak to this story because the story that was sent to me only focused more so on the mother. But after I read a little bit more into it, the father, who was that man right there, was involved with this case as well. And this story is one of the most tragic stories you will probably ever hear on my channel. But it says a California mother who had been jailed for torturing and murdering her young daughter and then dissolving her body in bleach has seen an appellate court uphold her 2019 conviction. Myra Alejandra Chavez, age 28, first came to the attention of the authorities in February 2016 when Ventura County Children and Family Services received a call requesting a welfare check on her older daughter. When they questioned the girl, she told them she did have a sister, which raised questions since they were aware Chavez had a 3-year-old girl named Kimberly Lopez. Chavez and Kimberly's father, Omar Lopez, told them the girl was not aware of her sister because she was living with relatives in Mexico, an explanation they repeated to social workers a few months later, but could not provide the documentation backing up the claim. Social workers officially reported Kimberly missing to the Oxnard police in September 2016, according to the Los Angeles Times, resulting in authorities offering a $10,000 reward for information to find the 3-year-old. They searched for the young girl for months before Chavez confessed she had died. As investigators looked into the case, they uncovered some horrific details. On the June 2015 night she was killed, Chavez had become angry when Kimberly soiled her diaper. She aggressively pulled down the 3-year-old's pants and yanked her legs from under her, sending her toppling to the floor, where she struck her head and started seizing. In an interview with detectives, Lopez likened the sound to a watermelon hitting the ground. She died after they failed to seek medical attention, following which the couple drove her body to Mexico and buried it in a blue plastic bag in a shallow grave. They then returned to Oxnard, but afraid that the body would be found, drove back to her grave and exhumed her remains. They broke apart her bones with pliers and tried to dissolve her remains in a bucket with bleach and water, which they later poured down a sink in a house they were renting. Investigators also learned that Chavez had lost custody of Kimberly at birth after the baby tested positive for both methamphetamine and marijuana. The child had been placed in foster care for around 9 months before she was returned to the mother after she completed drug and parenting classes. Kimberly was returned to foster care again after Chavez started abusing the girl, but was allowed to be seen by her mother during supervised visits. It was during these visits that the abuse became more severe. The 28-year-old's punishment for Kimberly reportedly included cold showers in which a beanie was put over the child's face and water was dumped on her head, beatings that left bruises all over her body, slaps for not eating her food quickly enough, and more. In December 2018, Chavez was convicted of felony torture and assault and sentenced to 37 years to life in prison. Lopez, who struck a deal with prosecutors in exchange for testifying against Chavez, pleaded guilty to child endangerment and perjury and was sentenced to 14 years behind bars. In May 2019, lawyers for Chavez appealed her sentence on the basis of numerous technicalities, but saw their petition turned down by the 2nd District Court of Appeal, which upheld her convictions. Did she actually think that she was going to actually have them tone down the sentencing in which she received for the torture of her child? Both of these individuals are sick. Like, did you just hear what I just read? The lengths they went to, I couldn't even imagine that kind of torture. Like, they literally killed this girl, drove her across the border. They drove her across the border. They took her from the States and into another country, dumped her body there. And then when they was afraid that someone would discover her body, they went back and got her body and took pliers and started basically breaking her bones with it, and then dumped her body in bleach to dissolve it and then dumped it down a sink. That means who knows where the remains, this girl's remains are scattered just about any and everywhere right about now. This has probably got to be one of the most sickest parenting abuse stories I have ever talked about on my channel. I said no child deserves that kind of torture. But you do know who does deserve that kind of torture? These two right here. Especially her. Because they was just saying how, like, when she was born, the girl, tested positive for drugs, which means this woman was using. She was an abuser. She was using. She abused herself with drugs and then turned around and abused her own daughter. But he's not out of the woods himself because he went along with it. After all, he is the father. These two knuckle. I wish I could take both of their heads and just bang them together like hard, like coconuts getting hit up against a rock. That way they can hopefully feel what it was like, what the pain is, or what the pain was that this girl had to go through. I feel absolutely nothing for either one of these bastards. I'm talking about this one and this one. And I hope they get as much torture as they possibly can stand wherever they are at.